In this video, I will show you how to use the Pathways software to plan for happiness. Now, you might think that's a little bit odd, planning for happiness. Why would I plan for happiness? After all, I see that little children are often very happy and they don't do any planning at all. But keep in mind that someone is typically doing the planning for them. Their parents, who are making sure that they have enough food to eat, they have a warm place to sleep, that they have opportunities to play with friends and to learn. But as a child gets older, more and more of these responsibilities are transferred to them. And as adults, we need to plan for all of these things and consider what it takes to have a happy life. And that's what Pathways is for. It's not essential to have for a happy life, but it will help you to plan your time, your money, and to consider those things that will bring happiness to you and ensure that you've got those covered in your plan so that you can bring happiness to yourself and to other people and to vicariously enjoy the happiness you bring to other people as well. So before I show you the software, let's take a quick look at what it takes in order to have a happy life.
This is the Universal Ethics website. It's a website devoted to helping people live happier lives by adopting some principles that work well everywhere. You can surf through this anytime, but right now I'd like to draw your attention to the section here on Pathways and using it for planning, and in particular information about happiness, which is also on the website. In order to have a happy life, you need to satisfy a variety of motives. These are motives that are necessary for satisfaction of people, and we have the physical motives, which are the necessities of life. We have needs for attachment with other people, needs of feeling safe rather than in fear, as well as to satisfy your desires for knowledge, a little bit about appreciating life, very important, which is getting empathic satisfaction, in other words, vicarious satisfaction from making other people happy, and as well developing some confidence and hope and peace of mind. All of these things together will bring you happiness, and that is what you need to plan for when you're using Pathways. So now we're going to take a look at the Pathways Planner. I have it here showing the Pathways alarm clock, which is running, and it's set to run at startup so that if there's any activities scheduled, it would show them. At the moment, we don't have any scheduled. On the left are the tools that are available. This is the toolbar. So the first thing is the planner itself, which we'll show in a moment. We have a person and address book, a handy filer, a report viewer, an idea for the day, a calculator, which includes a financial calculator, and lastly, we have the advice book where you can use a little expert system to define policies. So we're going to start off with the Pathways Planner itself. Clicking this, we have the planner started, and the first thing it wants to do is open your last plan, but we don't want to do that because we're going to demonstrate creating a new plan, so we're going to click cancel. And I'd like to point out on the planning grid, on the lower right hand corner, we have a graduate hat, which shows that we're configured in advanced mode. The alternative, if we click this, is beginner mode, and that shows us a baby rattle. But beginner mode disables a lot of the features that I'd like to show you today in order to simplify the functions and menus for people who haven't used it before. But that's not going to quite cut it for today, so let's go back into advanced mode so we can show you a little bit more. So the first thing you want to do when you create a plan is to set the scope of what time period are you planning for and who are you including in your plan. So let's do the time frame. The bottom axis here represents the time period, and each of these bars represents one of the participants in your plan, each of the colored bars. So to set the time frame, we can click here, and let's put in 4 quarters to cover the year. This is the beginning of 2019 right now, so there it is. If we stretch it out a little bit to the right, we can see all of the 4 quarters for the year. Now let's put our people into the plan. So for this, we're going to do a fictitious example of a family of 4, husband and wife. The husband is John. And let's put John in the address book. Now probably he already knows his own address, but just to illustrate this feature, and it pops up the address book, and it's already added the name John. And if we wanted to keep track of, say, his phone number, we could put that in, or his address, or anything else we wanted to keep track of, and we could save it. But we don't really need to do that in this case, so I'm just going to close that out. And let's say his wife, let's see, what shall his wife be? Jane. John and Jane. And he has a daughter, Susie, little wee toddler daughter. And we could scroll down, but I think we'll just give ourselves a little bit more room here on this window, and we will shrink the vertical bars to fit on Willie, who's ready for kindergarten. And here's the color for Willie. Let's change the color a little bit. Let's make it a little more green, just because we feel like it. There we are. So there is his family. The next part of the planning process is to take account of how you're currently spending your time and money. You need to find out how much spare time and money you have that you can plan for. So, as a basis, let us start off with something that everybody needs to do. We're going to drag a box onto one of these grids, and we're going to call this eating and sleeping. And let's drag it over a little bit to the right here so we can still see the planning grid. We're going to choose all of the people. Do a shift click here to click them all. And we'll add everybody needs to have some food and time for sleep. And the amount of time they need, well, say 8 hours a day for sleeping at least. Another 3 hours for meals, for 3 meals a day. So that's 11 hours. And we're going to multiply by that times 7 days a week. And that gives us the weekly hours. Incidentally, if you click into any box in Pathways that has a number, you can press F11 and it will bring up the calculator, and you have an alternative way of figuring out the number to put in the box. It's also going to cost them something for the eating part at least, so that we're going to budget for, say, $1,000 a month for food. Now lastly, we have, well, what kind of satisfaction are they going to get in their life from having that outcome? And those are meeting the essentials of life. So we'll go down to physical needs, show that it's satisfying their need there, as likewise for physical need of sleep. And we can scroll through the different levels of intensity. I don't think that their sleep quite rates as ecstasy, but neither is it discomfort, suffering, or misery. So we'll pop it back up here, or you can click on the circles. So that takes care of eating and sleeping. We now see that it's showing for all of them. Now it just so happens that John is going to work every day, while Jane is taking care of her little toddlers at this time of their life. So we have only for John in this particular case employment, and he's going to earn, I don't know, it could be $60,000 or whatever. This, by the way, doesn't have to be dollars. It could be euros, could be anything, whatever currency it is you're using, and you'd put in some reasonable amount for the kind of money you earn, or in this case the money John earns in his part of the world. And what kind of satisfaction is he going to get out of it? Well, firstly, it's a bit of work for him. Maybe he has a desk job with lots of mental concentration. So we're going to just put it as mild level of concentration and work. A little bit slightly displeasing, but on the other hand, balanced off by the fact that he does find his job to be interesting. And let's put a few other things on here that are taking up some money, because just having employment and some food isn't quite enough. They need to have a place to live, and that's going to cost them some money. So let's go take a look at that. We're going to put in another one here. And this one, in addition to the employment, we're going to have home rent accommodation for his home. And we're going to say that it's paid for by John, but he's really doing it for all of them. It's actually by and for John as well. But on these ones, they're not actually earning the money, but it's being done for them. And I don't know how much your accommodations are going to cost them, but we'll make a guess for this example. And what they're getting out of this is a comfortable place to live. Not taking up any of their time because they're just using the money that John already earned. And we'll also take another one here. This is another way of choosing the time period. And we'll include here as well clothing for the family. And that's also going to contribute to their comfort, for sure, because otherwise it'd be pretty cold outside without having any clothes. So now we have a representation of how this family is using their time and money. Perhaps not complete, but enough for illustration purposes. So we can run a few reports. We can run, for example, we can run budgeted time report for John. And we can see here that we have actually only one thing planned so far that takes up his time, because we forgot to put in how much time he spends at work. Well, let's fix that. Let's check it out again. All right, so we still see that he has a fair chunk of time that he could use for worthwhile activities. And let's check out the money. So here's a financial report so far, how they're doing. Money in, money out, and they've got quite a bit spare still. So it's probably because they haven't actually shown all of the things they're really spending their money on. But that is something that would require a little bit more time than we're going to plan to show right now. And then lastly, here's how we really get into planning for happiness to make sure that a person has a fulfilling life. And this is it right here. We'll do it for John. And here's a summary report showing the areas in his life where he is achieving some satisfaction. You recall he enjoyed his job, and they have met their physical needs for food and sleep and comfort in their home.
We see from this plan that John is missing a few things that would give him joy within his life. For example, there is nothing in the social category, and he could certainly get some satisfaction from his life just spending some time with his own family. The other thing that he could get is he could get empathic joy. He could get some vicarious satisfaction from doing things that causes them to have fun and be happy. So let's put something in the plan for that.
So now we're ready to make a few improvements to our plan, but before we do that, it's a good idea to save it, because with this product, it only saves when you ask it to. And that way, if you go and make a bunch of changes to your plan and then decide you didn't really want to do that, you're not obliged to save it, and you can go back to the way it had been before. So let's save it. It's giving us a default name. We'll just change the name here to Demo 1 or something like that. Okay, so now we're going to make a few changes to improve the life of this family. It's showing that there are no new alarms as a result of saving the plan. So let's go back to the plan, and we're going to try to put something into it to give a more full and enjoyable life to John and his family. So what could he do? Well, there's a few things he could do, but let's try to come up with something that would bring a little bit of joy to them all, and we will do it over, say we'll make an objective to do it over the next couple of quarters. And we're going to call this Special Outings with Family. And we're going to include all of them. And some things we have in mind here would be maybe to go hiking or swimming or go biking. Things that, because the kids are little, John and Jane would have to take them. They're not going to do any work themselves, but they're going to get the benefit of it, those little ones. So there we have what we have in mind. And well, let's assume we need, say, 4 hours a week. Maybe that's low, but this isn't going to be the only thing we do together. So this is just one of many things that we could put into the plan. And what we'll put in here is that those who are doing it, which is mom and dad, are going to feel a little bit of empathy for their kids and get some vicarious joy from seeing their kids having some fun. We're going to try and pick something here that has some physical fitness benefit. Some of the examples I gave would do that, like the swimming and so forth. So we're going to get a little exercise out of this as well. And of course, this is something that's going to build family togetherness. So that is the alternative to loneliness, is having a little together time with people who you care about. So that's going to show on their plan. Now, if it doesn't fit, we get these little extenders here that will let you get a complete list. And when it does fit, it's showing the name for that person. The other thing that we can do is we can organize this a little bit differently if we wish. So if we wanted, for example, to show this in paths rather than according to a person, we can add a path. We can call it Family Activities and put in a variety of things, including our special outings. And then we can view this as paths. So now we have all the activities that are family activities grouped together, and then the rest are in a separate group. We could put those into groups too if we wish to. The next thing is, let us plan for some specific special outings with our family. And let's start, it's the beginning of the month. How about we start on Monday? Oh, how about Tuesdays? Well, how about we have a swimming day on Tuesdays? So we'll start here. And we will say every evening on Tuesday evenings from 7 to 9 p.m. Oh, p.m., not a.m. We're going to go swimming with family. And that's going to be associated with our special outings. So it automatically populates in our family that are in the objective. And if we wish to schedule that out for every day over those 2 periods, we could do that, because we can make it weekly, every week, and we can make it to the end of the 2 periods, which is the end of June, which was what it was defaulting to. But if we had some other date short of that, we could have picked it from the calendar. So there we are. So here's our calendar showing swimming is scheduled every day of the month. And you can print these calendars, you can download them, do whatever you want with them. So now we have a little bit more worthwhile plan. Let's check out motivational fulfillment now for John. So let's do that. We'll go with the brief version again. We will see now that John is covering, in fact, some social needs, some empathic satisfaction as well. His life still leaves a few opportunities for improvement, but an improvement over what it was before. And, you know, maybe some of these are fine, we just didn't record anything for them, like security. Is he saving for his old age, for example? Is that going to give him some financial security, or is he in maybe a precarious situation? So this gives a person a chance to think about their life a little bit. As well, you can run the report for family members and see how your family plan is doing for those as well. So let's do it for Willie. So Willie's, we've done some thinking for Willie, but we can do a little bit more thinking. What about, Willie's needs for learning? Maybe he should go to preschool some of the time. Maybe we should do some painting with him. So there's lots to think about that you can start to think about as you plan.
There are plenty of other planning features that I haven't shown you, but what I have shown is a good start. And to find out more, you can look in the Pathways help. There's also a tutorial. If you go to the help menu in Pathways, you can choose the tutorial or you can choose help, which will give you the manual. And the manual is quite comprehensive. We'll have a look at it just right now.
What I'm showing now is the Pathways manual, which is available from the online help. It's a web page, and but all of the information is downloaded with Pathways and is installed so that you don't have to have an internet connection in order to look at it. But it does have information about how to get started and about all the different features. And as well, at the bottom of each section, there's a place where you can submit comments about the web page, about the help that you're getting. If you find that it's perhaps not adequate, then in a future release it will be improved. Also, in Universal Ethics, which includes, among other things, information about using Pathways to plan for happiness, we also have a place for submitting comments about that website and the information that we hope will be useful to you. And lastly, the Pathways website itself has some downloadable accessories which you may wish to download for your Pathways once you have it installed and feel comfortable with it.
If you try out the methods I've shown, be sure to take time to fill in a comment and let me know about it. I created this Pathways software more than 15 years ago, and occasionally I get comments back that people like it or they don't, but very rarely do I get specific comments about how they would like to see it improved. So please feel free to comment, be very specific and pointed in your comments, and that will give me the opportunity to make the product and the advice and other information more helpful in the future. So in conclusion, I'd like to wish you a happy life, best of wishes and best of success, and I hope you found this information to be useful.